personal references regarding her family situation, and a few personal references about a situation with the other woman who was in the car because she didn't have her permission and didn't want to share personal things that didn't really relate to her narrative about what had happened. And so I did that. But I didn't have time and didn't want to take any extra time to edit the audio or anything like that. So you'll hear her audio is pretty low, so you want to turn up your volume. I'll get it as high as I can here for you so you can hear it. And then when it's done, we'll come back here to the live Periscope broadcast. Here's the interview. I saw I missed your call.
No, I was trying to text you back.
Oh. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how good it is to just know you're out. Thousand people within 24 hours start following me on Periscope. People I don't know or anything, just because everybody's trying to find out what's really happened.
Okay, well, I can update you as fast as I can for a minute.
Have you seen the video that they released?
I did, but here's the problem. They're not telling the truth as you're watching it. Because what happened was that I was going to go home. And then one of my friends who was supposed to go do the video couldn't go, and I couldn't leave the little girl, and I went to take pictures of them. That's why I went.
Right.
So we were set up. They had an ambush set up for us. Absolutely. And they set it in the place, the most perfect place. I was on the phone and texting right before that area, and it was the only place that had absolutely no cell service.
Right. They had clearly been planning this, and they clearly also had somebody inside because they knew your guys' plans down to the T.
Oh, they did because it was that Mark. Mark did it. I believe it was Mark who set us up.
Well, and
he's only been there for a couple of days. Tell me how come he's out and nobody else is. And he was in the van with us, and we got pulled over. He's the one that was pushing us all to go together at the same time. We were saying, no, we had to send other people ahead, and then us, and then the next ones, and whatever. And so we were kind of in that together. So they knew. They knew. And so when we came up, we came through that. We came first, and we noticed the people there, okay? And I was in the back with Victoria and Ryan Bundy.
Right.
And Ryan Payne was in the front, and Lavoie was driving in that one. And then Mark was driving the one with Ammon and Buddha.
Right.
And so as we came through that, we noticed the vehicles. And they said, wow, did you see all those vehicles? And I could see them out the side corner, because I'm in the back seat and I got the camera shell on, so I can't see a whole bunch. But I saw the vehicles.
Right.
And then they could see them gaining up on us, and then we looked back and Jeep was stopping. So they flipped their lights on, and the boy says, "Works out. We're going to beat the sheriff." So he's heading out, and Ryan Payne's telling him, "No, dude, you need to slow down." He said, "Slow down. They're gonna, they're gaining on us, and you better just slow down." So finally, he talks Lavoie into slowing down, kind of pulling over. Okay, but
did Lavoie wasn't when Lavoie said he was going to go meet the sheriff, you mean the sheriff of Grant County, or is that what at that meeting? Okay.
Grant County, that was the meeting. Okay.
Okay.
So he reaches out. So Ryan Payne, they pull up kind of behind us, and Ryan Payne rolls down his window, and he puts both his hands out the window, and they shoot at him. And they hit the mirror down. I thought they hit his wrist, okay? Because he has that bracelet thing on. And I thought they hit him and jerked his hands back in, and oh my God. Because he had his hands out, but he just went, it was not good.
Wow.
And so then finally, but what he's going to take off, and Ryan says, no. And so he jumped out of the car. Well, Victoria says, I'm not getting out. And I'm going, I'm not getting out, they're shooting at us. Why
did Ryan jump out if they were shooting at him?
Well, I don't know because I guess he wanted him to, because he said they mean business or something, you know, and that's why I got out.
Right.
And then they took him immediately and arrested. I mean, took him out, arrested him. Yeah.
Wow.
And so then, Lord says that they said something about let the women out, and that's why he's stalling. He says you guys can get out if you want to. Well, you know, couldn't really. The door was locked, but I could have made him, except for Victoria said, I'm not getting out, and I'm not about to leave her. You know.
Right.
My mother instincts kick in.
Well, and she didn't want to get.
She's 18 years old. Just paranoid.
She's not wanting to get out because she was afraid?
Oh yeah. And so she said, I'm not getting out. So he said, and so he just said he's gonna get us. So we slid down to the floor. I said, how far do you think you can make it, Leroy, without them shooting out your tires? And he was yelling at them at that time too. By the way, he was yelling at us. We're going to see the sheriff. We're going to see the sheriff. And so when we got down there, and we were down low, then they're yelling, video this. So I turned my video cam on. And that's when we start, all I know is he gets to the roadblock, and he tries to go around it. I remember we're hunkering down.
Do you know he was trying to go around it? See, one of the things I noticed is that he stepped on the brakes. So he must have been going pretty fast, but I couldn't tell if he was trying to stop and just couldn't stop in time, or if he was actually trying to go around it.
Well, he did hit the brakes. That's true. He did hit the brakes, because I remember we kind of slid through that snow, and he had to stop, so he came to stop in the snowbank, because he was trying to get around him. And I guess he was going around. I'm sure he was. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't really know. I just know that he was swerving around that side, and that we hit the brakes, and we slid right up into the ice.
Right.
And there was slush flying everywhere. And then the bullets started flying, and he screamed out the window. Okay.
Now, when you say the bullets started flying, you're talking.
Go ahead and shoot me. Okay, we're going to see the sheriff. And he goes, go ahead and shoot me. And then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up. And then we can hear all the shots are going off, and they're shooting, not just him, they're shooting our windows out. They're shooting everything. We can't get out of the vehicle. There are bullets, everything's whizzing, okay? We can't get out. There are lasers all over us. Ryan gets hit in the shoulder. We have lasers all over on the mirrors, on the glass, on our knees, on the, you know, and we are just cowering down as low as we can get, and I got her head shoved down as low as I can, and Ryan's down to the floor, and we're trying to keep down as low as we can. And the bullets don't quit, they just keep going. And they're both screaming, they killed the boy, they watched him get shot, okay? And then you'll hear us, we're just screaming, you know, stop, you know, and she's yelling, I'm an EMT, I can help him, she's screaming, stop, and she's trying to get over to the window, but the bullets keep coming. I'm right by the passenger door, and the glass is up, and they keep hitting that window. And we are praying, her and I are just praying out loud, okay? And as hard as we can, and the bullets are bouncing off this window. They didn't break that window, they were breaking all the other windows. They didn't break that window.
That's weird.
And they're shooting in gas, you know, bomb things. So they're gassing us. And so I had that down jacket on, and her and I had our nose in the jacket, in my jacket, and I'm just trying to keep her down, you know?
Yeah.
And then finally, because they weren't letting up, that's when I started screaming to stop. So then they finally must have heard her because they stopped. And we've been there for, 5-10 minutes, you know? And still, after he was already dead. And they were still shooting. They planned to kill us all. There's evidence. So finally they said, and then they get on the bullhorn and send the male out, you know, which was Ryan. And he got out, and of course they got him, made him walk backwards and took him. And then she gets out. And then they came, and then I had to leave the camera and my phone because I had to get my hands up and climb out. And they put us on the ground and put handcuffs on us. And then They continued to shoot the truck. They said, is there anybody else in the truck? As we're walking away from them, we said, no, there's nobody in there. I said, absolutely nobody is still in the truck. Okay, we get away from it, and they just open fire and keep blowing holes in it. And they broke the window where I was sitting.
Weird.
Yeah, and it was evident that they had every intention of killing us. They don't want us to live.
Wow.
It was crazy. And we said, you murdered him in cold blood. When we get there, see, as I watched that video, FBI video, I can see what he was doing. He comes out of the truck. He has his hands up. My guess is they shot him in the leg, okay? Because you can hear the shooting. They shoot him in the leg. Or I don't even know how many times they shot him, but I know I'm almost positive he had a bulletproof vest on, okay? And the big one, but he's stumbling through the snow, and they shoot him, and he turns back like he's coming back to the truck.
Yeah.
And the one that finishes him off is a long rifle over to the side, the sniper. He's not 50 feet from him.
Yeah.
And blows him away. And then so he falls backwards into the snow. He does not have a gun in his hand. He is dead. When he gets out, his left hand is still laid out. His right hand is halfway to his chest, and he, like it was up. But he has no weapon in his hand. He never unholstered his gun. He knew, he just kept saying, then go ahead and shoot me, And they did. They just lambasted him. And even after he's dead, they shot him. It was a nightmare. And I said to the girl, to Victoria, and we said, you guys murdered him. You murdered him in cold blood. You're a bunch of murderers, killers,
Do you believe?
Why did you do that? I didn't do it. Yeah, sure you didn't. We could see all the guys standing behind the tree. Some of them had those little binocular things on their hats,
Yeah.
They were a bunch of snipers. They were just killers. It was unreal. And so then she said, I said to her, you just witnessed something you'll never forget for the rest of your life. And whoever gets out of this, if you get out of this, you are to tell everybody you see. She said, I will. I said, tell them the truth. Tell them what really happened.
Are you sure? I mean, do you know? When the FBI said that there was a gun, they said there was a gun in Lavoie's inside coat pocket. Do you know if that's true or not?
He did not have a gun. I saw him laying on the ground. He never reached for his inside pocket. Nothing. He had a pistol strapped to his hip. Why in the hell would he reach inside for a gun?
You mean when they shot him, he had that pistol that he normally carries? Because I heard.
It was on his hip. He wasn't wearing anyway. He did not have a gun. He never had one in his hand.
Huh.
Yeah, right. Why would he unholster one and they're shooting at him?
People have said.
If he was going to shoot him, why did he get the gun out before he got out?
Right. That's what I wondered.
Right.
I'm not.
See them all. There's bunches of them up there, all behind the trees there. Snipers.
Did he say anything to you before he got out? Did he say anything to you girls before he jumped out?
No. He was yelling at them.
And what was he yelling?
Okay, he said, then just shoot me. That's all he said.
Because
and they did. He was yelling at him. And he had his hands up and he was yelling at him. And they did.
It sounds to me like he saw that it was obvious they were out for blood, and he was trying to get away so they could get it over with, maybe to protect you guys. I mean, that's speculation, but that's what it sounded like.
I don't know. Maybe, and that maybe was his thinking. I don't know. But he was damn determined that we were going to get to the sheriff, and when he saw it wasn't going to happen, maybe that's what I don't know. I can't tell you what he was thinking.
Wow.
But it was horrific.
Now, after that happened, did you get a chance to talk to anybody? I mean, that Mark fellow says that he talked to you and that you told him.
We did, because here's what happened. They put us in the van. They went out and picked up everybody. So we had all of us in the van. We got put in first. And then they picked up the other guys as we went down the road, but they were stopped, and put them in the van. Mark was sitting in front of us. He was a jackass. Let me tell you something. There's this poor girl. We just saw murder in front of her face. we were sitting in the back of that truck, in the back of that van, and we were singing hymns. I'm trying to keep her calm down, okay? And we are singing hymns, and as loud as we can, and praying. And I said, sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, so we pick up Mark. And he starts yelling on me, shut her mouth. And we all turned on him and said, knock it off. She's a young girl, you know. I said, she has to deal with this. You knock it off.
Right.
Because he kept just coming down on her. And then they take us, and he looks back and he says, I hope my Jeep is still there. We looked back and I said, yeah, your Jeep's there. Which is a bit more than willing to explain his Jeep cost $60,000, blah, 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 blah.
Lavoie's dead, and he's talking about good thing his Jeep is still there.
Right. And we had told him what happened. We were telling him what happened. He wasn't there. He didn't see it. They didn't have crap. They didn't even know. We went around the bend before they saw him. So he doesn't even know what he's talking about. So we go, and I did tell him what happened. We told him what happened. But, you know, he wasn't there. He didn't see it.
Right.
So then we get down to, then we all get in the vehicle and we take off. And then, we did take off. We were there for a long time. Hours. They left us there for hours, and they brought in all these guys. It was getting dark now, and I'm sure they were trying to figure out what the hell they were going to charge us now, because they didn't know what, they had nothing to charge us on.
Yeah, I know.
So I kept saying, are we under arrest? And they said, no, you're just detained. We're just detained. We're not under arrest, we're just detained. And so we're sitting there for hours.
Jeez.
And then they finally get us in the thing. And they sent the ambulance, this Ryan guy got hit in the shoulder. So they had the ambulance, and they worked on him, and then we all go to town, and they took him to the hospital. And we all circle in to the hospital. They dropped him off. We thought, okay, so that's why they're staying in the hospital room, so they can put us in jail in the hospital. That's not what happened. We swung back around, went out of sight of Burns, and to a rest stop, where all of these SUVs show up. And they split us up, and they put us all in these different vehicles, okay? When they put one in each vehicle, and then they send us off. And I kept saying, where's the girl? Where's the girl? Where's the girl? You know? And finally, we didn't see what happened, but one of the cars turned off and went back into town, like off the road. And so we didn't know, and we were driving 80 miles an hour all the way out here for hours, all the way to Portland. 80 miles an hour in a caravan, and they stopped in one spot and picked up Santilli, because they had him in a different vehicle. They put him in a vehicle, and one other person, I couldn't see who it was at that time. But anyway, so then we got in the vehicles, and we came out here, and they put us in, and when we found out, there was no mark. No mark, okay? Why wasn't Mark taken out here? Why does he have his Jeep back? Why is he on face? How is he out there like this? You know, we're
right.
in prison. We don't have any idea what's going on.
Right. He was the first one to get a story out because they let him go.
Of course he was, because he's telling lies.
Wow.
He didn't tell the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know. He wasn't even there. He's trying to cover himself. He's the one that pushed us to go together.
Wow.
He was the one that was in the hurry.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, it looks pretty bad. In fact, we know that we're sure that he set us up.
Wow.
They knew exactly when we were coming in, too. And I was on the phone until we hit that area, and then the cell phones went dead. We couldn't call anybody. We couldn't get any. I was just on the phone right before that. texting and calling, and then all of a sudden we have absolutely dead zone, and nobody has any service. And so that's when I had to pull out my camera and start videoing.
Now, do you still have that video?
No, they took it. They took everything. They took everything. They took my wedding ring. They took my clothes. They took my glasses. They've taken every single thing. The whole world went upside down.
I've been trying to make.
Of course, we still have to fight the fight.
Yeah.
Okay? We still have to stand for the Constitution. We cannot let it just die. We cannot let LaVoy. You know, I'm a little nervous because I'm speaking out because they can. I'm still not out of the woods yet.
Right.
Because they can put me right back in, and I know that. But here's the deal. I have to get out, and I have to get the word out, and I have to get help, ASAP.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, those guys are going down. So I had to get out, and I have to get help. And I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Well,
we have to.
you know, I don't think...
I don't want to put anybody in danger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're talking big stuff here.
Yeah.
They will use everything in their power to wipe us out. We have to get the truth out, because you know what? If we don't, we're hanging. We all stand together, we hanging severally.
All right. Shawna, thanks for cluing me in. We've been praying for you and everybody else. And if you,
I mean, you know what? That's the only thing that's getting us through. I know, guys. I'm telling you.
How did Ryan?
All these guys are together, and I'm all by myself.
Yeah.
And so they had to listen to me singing hymns.
I got a question for you. Let me back up. I got a question for you. I got a question for you. Ryan Bundy, he got shot before or after you got to the roadblock?
No, after. During sometime, I think it was while we were all hunkered down.
Before? Well, did he get shot before or after they shot LaVoy?
I don't know. Because bullets were flying everywhere. I don't know.
There were bullets. Did you see any other bullets coming into the vehicle?
Oh, heck, through the window. They shot them all out. Everything was coming in. We had all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
They were coming from behind, though. That's why God saved us.
Wow.
They were coming from behind us. See, they'd already blown out the windshield. I don't even know where they were standing, but they'd already blown out the windshield.
Wow.
And then they were hucking in the smoke bombs.
Do you have any idea? Can you even estimate how many rounds? Or we were talking. You said they've been
hundreds. I'm telling you, it was like riddling a tin can.
Wow.
And the lasers were everywhere. They were pointing the lasers. See, that's
right.
so freaky.
Yeah.
Because I'm going down, and I'm pushing down on Ryan because I can see it on his head, and I can see it on her knee, and we're moving, so we can't. So the lasers can't get us. We can see the lasers.
Right. What a dramatic experience. Whoever lives through something like that?
Well, only when God lets us, because we have to tell the world.
Yeah. That's
we have to take down. I'm telling you, there's thieves and liars and murderers.
Yeah. That's the only. I can't imagine any other way you made it through that alive except for the grace of God.
There was only, and we know that.
Yeah. And bless.
We pray and we thank Him every day.
Yeah.
And we prayed. I'll tell you the whole time.
I couldn't believe that
one. We've all just been praying together every day.
I couldn't.
Every time we see each other, it's a prayer, and Mr. Ian's making them sing.
Wow. Oh, bless you, Shawna. All right. You got my number. Take care. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, my friends, I don't know how much. First of all, how amazing it is that Shawna is willing to share that with everyone. If you think about that, matter of fact, let me do this. Some of you saw a couple things. Let me explain a couple of things that were going on in that video. I was trying to block out her phone number to protect her privacy, and also you saw me making some funny gestures. I didn't anticipate that phone call, and you saw Kimball come in with our kids into the room, and I was just telling him to be quiet. And then you saw Kimball sitting behind me. Kimball actually has joined us here on this podcast. Kimball, I'm going to turn this around so everybody can see you as well. Kimball also went up there with me as part of our Free Capitalist effort to interview, and that's when we both met Shawna. First time we both met Shawna.
Right.
The last time we saw Shawna, we were, it's 2 a.m. or something the morning of this incident that this happened.
Yeah.
So when you listen to that interview, man, for me, the first thing that I'm thinking is, it very clearly corroborates Victoria's story, and they've been separated. Victoria got she's been in prison, right. and yet she tells a story that very closely matches up a couple things. First of all, that shots were fired
his hands were in there
before anything happened, when they had just pulled over and Ryan Payne's hands and head were out saying, "Hey, we're unarmed." And so the first shot was fired. I was going to say this, and I want y'all to think of this. For some reason, we live in a culture where it's getting very hard to make sense of the words people use. When you protest in the inner city or at a campus or university and you burn cars and you rip off clothes and you confront police, we call those nonviolent protesters. And then there's altercations and scuffles and arrests for abuse and all this but that's a nonviolent protest.
Right.
But when these people bear arms, so they're carrying weapons, we call it a violent protest just because they have weapons. But I love what one of the attorneys said. He said, carrying a weapon on your hip is also a First Amendment right, because it's a statement. It's just like a badge or a flag saying, hey, I'm a patriot, I'm a person who believes in the right to bear arms, let alone advertising, hey, I've got the ability to defend myself. But we live in a world where people have been trained, taught, and educated that if you see a gun, it means someone's threatening you. But what you hear from these two women is, from the beginning of this occupation, from this protest, from the beginning, from day one, until this event, there was no violence.
Right.
And then
not a single shot fired throughout the entire occupation.
And then
on the side of the...
Yeah, the first shot that was fired was at a traffic incident. It was like a hunting expedition. It was like a safari.
Ooh, I saw one.
They spent millions of dollars. They've got a airplane flying around.
Yep.
I saw a video earlier today talking about how it was suspicious that they didn't flip to thermal. That would have also shown you all the gunfire going on. Now, of course, Lavoie didn't know there was a roadblock up front, and she confirmed the same thing that Victoria said, which was he was bound and determined to go see this sheriff, a law enforcement officer. These men aren't anti-government; they're a proper role of government,
and they're pro the proper role of government. They're pro real government.
And he was determined. He didn't know there was a roadblock up there. He was trying to get there. And I love what she said. He was bound and determined to get to the sheriff. He wasn't bound and determined to get to a hideout.
He wasn't getting away. He wasn't running away. He was running to help.
After being shot at unprovoked, right? And you say, well, he ran from the police. He shouldn't run from the police. Okay. Now, next thing I notice is interesting. He puts on his brakes when he's coming around, and they shoot out the windshield. You see that guy jump out, and they shoot out the windshield, even though he's trying to avoid them. And then some people say, well, moving vehicle can be a deadly weapon. But as you and I were talking about earlier, if you read the law, and we won't talk about that here on this show, if you read the law, the police are responsible for the use of force, and the circumstances change when they're responsible for the circumstance.
Right.
I mean, this was staged. It was like a safari in a controlled environment, and they had snipers and goggles, she says.
It was flat-out gangster ambush.
Yeah, and it was weird because there were like these rules of engagement, right? It's like we can't shoot them unless they do certain things. If they put their hands out the window, we can shoot at them.
Right.
And I thought was also interesting.
If they stay in the car, we can riddle them with 200 bullets.
So Lavoie had been shot at twice unprovoked, and everybody in that car, twice unprovoked. Now, the words unprovoked, you might disagree and say, well, they ran from the police, but then watch this. So Lavoie jumps out of the car with his hands up, and he's saying to them, okay, fine, go ahead and shoot me. And she says, if you listen very carefully, and Victoria says the same thing, the bullets were flying while his hands were up. Okay, you don't see that in the video. She says they were flying into the truck and at Lavoie while his hands were up. And then I thought this was interesting. Nobody's reported this before. She said she's pretty sure he was wearing a bulletproof vest.
Right.
Which would explain, in my opinion, and we'll have to get some other experts to weigh in on this, if you get hit in a bulletproof vest, it's still painful.
Oh, yeah, it's like getting hit by a truck.
But it would make sense how he's reaching around. He got hit in the abdomen but didn't fall.
Right.
Right? And I also thought was very interesting, she said
in her memory, he was still carrying his sidearm, and we've heard other accounts that he had left his sidearm back at the.
Who said that?
I don't remember who said that. Did Mark McConnell say that?
I'm pretty sure he said that. That he wasn't armed.
I don't remember who said that. But it will be interesting to note when we get the full official account, because she makes a good point. If he did have his sidearm, he's right-handed, and it's on his right side. Why would he be reaching across to grab if he could have just grabbed there?
Why would he be trying to get something out of his inner pocket in his coat if he's got his freaking hand cannon attached to his hip?
Well, and then the other thing I think is, okay, he's been shot at twice. He gets out with his hands up, and they're still shooting at him. Maybe he was reaching for a gun at that point. But notice it was very interesting, if you watch the video, he turns away from the people that are shooting him. In other words, he's not confronting them. Now you could say, well, maybe he's trying to hide to get his gun, but he's facing the vehicle, and Shawna says, from her perspective, it looked like he was maybe trying to come back to the truck, like, holy crap, it was a bad idea to jump out of here. They're shooting at us, you know, and then he gets shot from behind. You pointed out something earlier. Even if you're going to defend that whole thing up until this point, he falls down. And both of these women say, and they, with his hands now outstretched, they still continue to shoot him. That's murder.
Yeah, that is murder. I mean,
he's clearly not presenting a threat at that point.
Let's say that he took a gun out and he pointed it at them. So they shot him. Great. He's on the ground. He's no more threat, and you're still shooting him.
And they said multiple times. I mean,
that is murder. I mean, literally, he could have been injured. He could have been critically injured, and they could have saved his life. Even leaving him laying in the snow for 10 minutes, they still could have. But they were riddling him with bullets when he was on the ground.
And we can only...
No more threat.
We can only guess, because all the facts aren't out yet. But as more and more facts come out, here are a couple things, and this is why I was so determined to get this out to you guys today. The very first account that came out from a gentleman who did not eyewitness these events, and who lambasted the people and was angry at the people who were saying that Lavoie was murdered in cold blood. So anyone who says we don't have all the facts, well, then neither did he, right? But all the mainstream media have picked up his accounts.
They ran with it, yeah.
And I haven't seen a smidgen of coverage of Victoria's statements.
Right, I've got a Google alert on that alerts me of anything Ammon Bundy, anything Lavoie Finicum, any of that stuff. I get an email instantly the minute they find it. I've seen 2 or 3 accounts of anybody even mentioning Victoria, and the only one was yours, which really examined what her testimony was. Everybody else treats her like she's a wacko.
Right.
And, oh, and there's another person that says this, but...
And now we've got a second eyewitness account that without any opportunity for them... I mean, you think about this. You say, well, they were sitting together. They could have coordinated their stories while they were sitting together. No, think about this. After they were sitting together, if you listen very carefully, they didn't know what the government story was going to be. They didn't know. They didn't know what Mark's story was going to be, because she said they told Mark the truth.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They weren't corroborating their stories. They were explaining to Mark exactly what happened.
Right.
And then freaking an hour later, he's on Facebook contradicting everything they say, saying that she was the one that told him.
It's spinning, preempting.
Right.
I don't know this Mark fellow.
You know the thing I noticed on Mark's thing? Just listen to the language he's using. When he's explaining in his story, he's calling it Vehicle 1 and Vehicle 2. Not my Jeep and Lavoie's car. He was talking like a Fed when they're talking about what the story's going to be. Vehicle 1 took off and this and this. He's speaking like he had been coached, or like he's a freaking Fed.
Well,
talking Vehicle 1, Vehicle 2, as opposed to my car and Lavoie's car. If you're a friend, if you're in this movement, if you're defending this guy, you're not calling his car Vehicle 1.
Well, not only that, he's dead, laying on the side of the road. You've got an 18-year-old girl and other people mourning the loss of their friend. They're singing hymns and saying prayers, and he's saying, shut them up. I want to talk about my $60,000 Jeep.
Right.
Now, look, he may have another explanation of that. Let me just be clear on this. As you can tell, I get kind of worked up about this. You know I love liberty. Those of you who are free capitalists know how passionate we are for the cause of liberty. But look, in the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses, there is a very legitimate reason now, to not believe the official narrative.
Absolutely.
They have no evidence, none, to back up their account.
Right.
No evidence. And say, well, it hasn't been enough time. But they did release evidence, and they chose what to release. And the evidence they released is now backfiring.
Right.
Okay? And as more and more evidence comes out, they're going to be trying to spin this. And patriots, we have a duty liberty lovers have a duty to keep the message alive. I love what she says at the end. She goes, do not let Lavoie have died in vain. We got to keep the cause going forward. Not the protest going forward,
Right.
but the cause of fighting for the Constitution, the fighting for these principles. We've got to keep putting the truth in front of people. Now, somebody says, well, maybe what she says isn't exactly the truth. I agree. You know, I haven't lived through a hailstorm of bullets. I don't know whether it was 50 bullets or 2,000 bullets. We will find that out. But it is the truth that she was there and that she saw it. And the two people so far that have saw it have had remarkably consistent stories that say they weren't the first to fire, that they didn't return any fire, that they were fired on hundreds of times. My question for you, my question for all people who love liberty is, even if, like me, you disagree with how this started in terms of techniques, we've got to get beyond that. Because techniques come and go. What Ammon Bundy and Lavoie Finicum and others have done is they have brought to the forefront a discussion through their actions. And Lavoie has died to do it. And the Oregon State Police and the FBI have been telling a story that is much, much different than this story that these two women told. And they had opportunities to collaborate.
Right.
All the FBI people, including Mark,
and doctor the video,
had opportunities to do that. These two women were separated after that. You know, Shawna was in isolation when she said she was kept by herself when Victoria was let go, and she gave her interview a couple days ago. So I don't want to get too carried away, but I do invite you to consider a couple things. Sheriff of Grant County said in his text messages, and we posted this on freecatholics.com, he thinks the reason this went down in Harney County is because he knew, the FBI and the Oregon State Police knew he wouldn't have tolerated it in his county. Now, some people have suggested he's implicated, maybe he lured him in. There's no evidence to indicate that I've seen. The evidence that I've seen is maybe a photograph or something of him at the scene after the fact. Of course, if you heard that these people had been killed and it's something you wouldn't have tolerated, I don't think it's unusual that he would have wanted to go there. But here's the thing. My friends, in the cause of liberty, we've got a choice to make. And we can blame, quote-unquote, the government. And we can keep giving latitude to people that are so mad and irate they can't articulate the problem. But it's not the quote-unquote government that's the problem. If you love the Constitution and you love the idea of the America that it creates, is it Grand County or Grant County? It's the county right north of Harney County. If you love liberty and you love the Constitution, you love the heritage of America, there are three branches of government. And what you saw, this murder of Lavoie Finicum, was overreach by the executive branch of government. And specifically, remember, the FBI was accused of being too lax and waiting this out. And it was the governor of the state of Oregon, the executive, that put pressure and called and whined to the President of the United States and said, these people out at the bird refuge are destroying lives for all Oregonians, right? And it's intolerable, she said. She said it was intolerable. Okay? And it was the Oregon State Police, according to even the FBI, that actually executed Lavoie. Okay? With the help and complicity of the FBI. But just remember, it's when we're mad at the government, we're not anti-government, we're anti-corruption, we're anti-overreach, we're anti-murder, right? And so we want to restore the Constitution. We're not going to wipe the United States off the map and start over. We're going to wipe the corruption out. We're going to wipe the overreach out. And that's what Lavoie was trying to do by going to the sheriff. He wasn't an anarchist. He wasn't avoiding the law. He was trying to go to the parts of the law that enable him to defend himself.
Right.
And if you'll notice in the news, you'll see the reports of these pretrial detainment hearings. Ammon Bundy's attorney recently said, we're now in an Article III court, and we're taking these arguments to an Article III court. Remember, my friends, there's a third branch of the government, and as broken as it is, and as frustrated as it is, I know firsthand. And it's funny, I gotta say something. I posted an announcement because I thought it was pretty useful to get this information out to everybody. I was a little nervous, we had a little bit of technical problems getting this out here. Our internet kept going down, Periscope kept kicking us off. We've been doing this for a long time. We never have those kind of problems. And I was like, sheesh, are we going to get these people coming to get us? Which, we know is a little bit of a risk. And I've been battling the government for several years, and I know I've taken a risk. Just because getting the truth out is a dangerous proposition in situations like this. But I've learned for myself in my own battle. I was going to tell you. So this guy on the Pacific Patriots website, he said, "Be careful. This guy's a scam artist. This guy's a scam artist who, you got to be careful. He's telling you to download an app. It's probably a scam." I invented Periscope to scam people. In the freedom movement, we don't need people that are that unthinking. Okay, I've been battling the government for 6 years. I beat 3 indictments, and now I'm still fighting an appeal that the government just won. I know they've tarnished my reputation. They want to create a class of others. If you ask yourself, why is the government doing this? Why would they lie about what happened to Lavoie? Why would they say, well, 3 shots were fired, and not confess that they had bulleted up? I mean,
because the virus is spreading.
Yeah, the 2 senators from Oregon are out in the news today saying, man, they handled it properly because the virus was starting to spread.
Right. People were starting to understand what they were saying.
Whenever a person starts to become a threat to the established order, don't be surprised when the government, particularly prosecutors in the executive branch, start to overreach and try to paint them as other. That's what they're trying to. They call these people militants. Funny thing, they didn't ever shoot anybody.
Right. The only people that fired any bullets, and reportedly hundreds of them, was the government.
And the most armed people never fired any bullets until the end, and then the most armed people were the government, and the Oregon State Police and the FBI. But we call them militants. Do you know what a militant is? Like, if you exercise your Second Amendment right, and you have a gun on your hip and you're protesting, the governor says you're a militant. The blood of Lavoie Finicum is on Oregon Governor Brown's hand first and foremost. Second, it's on the Oregon State Police, and third on the FBI. Now, what are we going to do about it? Well, remember, if we abandon the government, then we can only resort to force. And you just saw what happens. This is the most powerful militaristic force on the planet. We are not going to outgun the United States of America or any state in the Union. We are not to the point of a shooting war. We've got to clean the government. It is a tremendous undertaking. But an Article 3 court is tremendous. I like what Jason just said on Facebook. He says an Article 3 court saved his life. An Article 3 judge who loves the Constitution saves my life. My friends, remember, there are good men and women who also love America, who work in all of the branches of government, who need our support. So we've got to be able to make the distinction, and we've got to be able to be responsible enough to make the distinction between corrupt actors and actions in the government, corrupt bureaus, corrupt departments, corrupt operations, and just labeling the whole thing. We've got to win this movement. We've got to get smarter and more articulate, and with our passion, we've got to be better. We've got to lift our game and raise our game to win these fights. And one thing we've got to do is we've got to take the time to look at the evidence and form our own opinions and choose how to act strategically and rationally. And to those in the Patriot Movement and the Liberty Movement and the Freedom Movement who are doing that, I salute you. You are our friends. We hope you'll get in touch with the Free Capitalist Project. Hope you'll keep tuning in to our Periscopes. Hope this information was valuable to you.
All right, folks, it appears their feed jammed, so that's it. We'll be back in a little while with Deborah Jordan interview. Save this video and